when did real estate come into the picture and why?
That's a good question. I had taken my classes, and I guess always enjoyed like the remodeling and rehab side of things. Since then, I've been remodeling houses and flipping homes, however you want to call it, since probably 2005. I think that's initially what I thought I was going to do, but then I realized, being told I had to go to New York City the night before with a toddler and a dog was just not an easy and quick task. So, the limited got a little bit much as far as demand and time frames and things like that. And I just was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to jump in both feet and see what the heck happens. So that's honestly how I started. And it's funny. Most people don't feel like they're going to be set up for failure. And I almost kind of felt like there was a good chance that could happen because, I went from making a great salary. I had 3 weeks paid vacation. I was, traveling. I was in LA and New York and Asia and all these awesome places. But at the same time, I was always reporting to somebody else and I was always making money for someone else. And I think that's kind of what it boiled down to. And I realized that if I'm going to maintain, what I was previously making and, my own free time and things like that, I was definitely going to put in the work and the hours. But I was putting in the hours for myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would force myself to sit at my desk and, build my database and, stuff like that and handwrite cards. And I was just always a grinder because I was never willing to accept failure.
Yeah. Now, so you got into the investing side while still at the limited, flipping some homes?
It kind of happened pretty simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that kind of intrigued you enough to kind of get into the real estate space.
Yeah, exactly. And I had one thing that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way at the limited, and I had already passed, my licensure and stuff, and I just went, this is it. Yeah. Today's the day, and I put in my notice. So
yeah. Well, I'm curious about that too because I'm a big believer that significant other, spousal support, like you need those people or those things in your corner, right?
Yeah.
At least your immediate people, whoever that is.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? Because there might be some people watching this or listening in that are struggling with, hey, like I got family to feed, kids, right? How do I step away from this job where I and we can say salary and W-2 is secured, that's
that's 401k. I had it all.
Yeah, but how was that conversation, right? Because you have to consider the whole thing, and if other people are relying on you potentially, and how do you step away from this? What was that conversation like for you?
Well, I knew that I had obviously saved some money. I knew that I was, I guess, determined enough that I came from a family of lawyers and dentists and doctors, and just it was, and they kind of all looked at me like, you're gonna do what, and it was almost like okay, you just wait, you watch and see. That was my biggest, everybody always talks about what is your why, what is driving you. If you have nothing driving you, you're not going to succeed. And my why was always, I'm not going to allow it. I want to make more money than anyone else that does have, these, better titles or 12 more years of school or whatever it was. So that's my why. So hopefully if anybody is listening and they don't know their why, they figure it out, because that was a big kind of a light bulb for me back then, that it was like, there's no room for failure. This is all on me and I'm going to do it.
I think sometimes people struggle with their why, and I've heard this recently, that the why is typically created from trying to make someone else proud or trying to prove someone else wrong.
Yep.
And it sounds that was kind of that driving force
for
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody
Absolutely.
always says, "Oh, I want to make money," or "I want to be my own boss," and I mean, honestly, that's not really a strong enough driving force. I don't believe
No,
so.
no, because I call it the North Star, right? Like the North Star is that thing that I'm always looking up and I'm always going to chase. Like I probably will never catch it, but it's this thing. I heard Elena Cardone talk about this at a conference one year, and it was like, hey, how did you and Grant Cardone, you know, get through the recession, right? And she's like, hey, we had to have a goal big enough that was going to pull us through it, not
Mhm.
push us, right? Like those are two different things. That are gonna, we have to gravitate, we have to change, we have to get pulled towards this thing.